a lot of investors are going to be looking here at the guidance that Apple's going to give, because there's been a lot of concerns about the iPhones. And of course, the iPhones are one of the key drivers here of Apple revenue. And that's why it's such a huge focus for the market. There have been concerns that the iPhone 10 perhaps hasn't sold as well as many had hoped. And the super cycle that many analysts had talked about last year hasn't really materialized in iPhones. Another key part of the iPhone mix will be about looking at the average selling price, because that can give us a sense of what kind of iPhones are being sold, whether that's the higher priced iPhone 10 models or some of the lower priced older models like the iPhone 7, for example. Another key driver of this revenue picture here, which you have seen ticking up over the last few quarters year on year, is China. Now, this is a market that Apple has struggled in over the past couple of years, but in the last 2 quarters really has seen a return to growth. So that will be another key focus here. But we have seen from some analyst firms suggesting that China had one of its worst quarterly declines in smartphone sales in the last quarter. So that's going to be interesting to see how Apple performs in that market, and whether it has had some stiff competition from some of the local Chinese players there, especially in the high end of the market where it dominates. Another key driver, of course, of this revenue, and where analysts are going to be looking at, is the services revenue, because as those smartphone sales grow, Apple is looking to capitalize on its huge user base and make it pay for new services such as Apple Music and Apple Pay as well. I want to move over to look at some of the key points here that analysts are going to be asking Tim Cook and management on the earnings call. One of those, of course, is that cash repatriation that you mentioned, Jeff. $285 billion of off-sea cash. How will that be returned to the US, and what will Apple do with that? The thinking now is that there will be a massive increase in buybacks and in dividends to shareholders, and that's something I think that shareholders in Apple are holding out for here. So even though there may be declines in iPhone sales or concerns over iPhone sales, that is something that could be a saving grace for investors. Of course, new phones as well. A few rumors about 3 new devices, potentially a cheaper iPhone on the market too, and whether the iPhone 10 will be finally discontinued as well. That's going to be a key thought on the call. Now let's have a quick look at the chip makers. We've seen a few of those chip makers there. TSMC and AMS, they have had some pretty bad results in the last quarter, and the guidance has been very weak too, suggesting that actually that iPhone 10 could be discontinued within the next quarter. And that's the reaction on the chip makers is something that's going to be very closely watched by the market as well following Apple's results.
Hey everybody, it's Hadley Gamble from our new CNBC Middle East Bureau in Abu Dhabi. Thanks for stopping by. Now, to watch more, you can try one of the videos that just popped up on your screen. And don't forget to subscribe.